Frank Dawson stepped out of the shuttle and looked up at the massive crystal towers of the Galactic Council headquarters. The blue-tinted structures rose high into the orange sky of Centauri Prime. After years of work, humans were finally here, as official observers. "Take a deep breath," Frank said to himself. "This is what we've worked for." His assistant Natalie Wright walked beside him. Her dark hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and her blue diplomatic uniform matched his own. On their collars they both wore the silver Earth emblem, a simple circle with a tree in the center. "I still can't believe we're here," Natalie whispered. Her eyes were wide as she watched tall, thin aliens with blue skin walk past them. The first humans to officially represent Earth at the Council. Frank nodded and straightened his jacket. "Remember what Director Garfield told us. We're here to watch and learn, nothing more for now." As they walked toward the entrance, Frank noticed something odd. The aliens they passed, some with too many limbs, others with scales or feathers, all seemed to be watching them closely, not with curiosity but with something that felt like hostility. "Is it just me?" Natalie said softly. "Or are they all staring at us?" Frank kept his face calm, but his heart beat faster. "Stay alert, but don't show concern. We don't want to start our first day looking paranoid." At the giant doors to the council chamber, 2 guards waited. They were Dracarians, 7 feet tall with rough gray skin and 4 arms. Each guard carried a staff that glowed with purple energy. "Ambassador Dawson of Earth," one guard said in a flat voice. "You will come with us." Frank frowned. "We were told to report to the observers gallery. Our credentials." "You will come with us now," the guard repeated. The purple glow on his staff brightened. Frank exchanged a quick glance with Natalie. Something was very wrong. The small device hidden under the skin behind his ear began to feel warm. The neural transmitter was working harder, sending everything back to Earth Defense Command. "Very well," Frank said calmly. "Lead the way." The guards took them down a different hall than planned. Instead of going up to the public galleries, they descended into the main council chamber. The huge room was filled with hundreds of alien representatives seated in rising tiers. At the center was a circular platform. The guards led Frank and Natalie directly to this platform. As they stepped onto it, a force field shimmered into life around them. "What is this?" Frank demanded, keeping his voice level despite his rising fear. "We are here as invited observers." High Counselor Zegex Vini stood from the highest tier. The insect-like alien's 4 arms moved in patterns that conveyed displeasure. When he spoke, his voice was amplified throughout the chamber. "Ambassador Frank Dawson of Earth, you have been brought before the full council to answer for your crimes." A murmur spread through the assembled aliens. Natalie stepped closer to Frank. "What crimes?" Frank asked. "We have only just arrived. Our intelligence division has proof that you are not merely an ambassador," Zex Vini continued. "You are a spy, sent to gather information about our defenses and technology. Earth has been developing weapons in secret, weapons that could threaten the peace of the galaxy." Frank kept his face neutral, but his mind raced. How much did they know? Earth had indeed been preparing defenses. Any responsible government would after learning they weren't alone in the universe. But his mission was diplomatic, not espionage. "I am here as an ambassador, nothing more," Frank said firmly. "Earth seeks peaceful relations with the Galactic Council. If you have concerns, we can discuss them properly." A large screen appeared in the air above them. It showed images of Earth's moon, with what appeared to be military bases. Then Mars, with what looked like shipyards hidden in canyons. The images were grainy and unclear, but concerning enough if you were already suspicious. "These installations were not disclosed in your application for observer status," said another council member, a blue-skinned Arcturian. "Your people claim to have only basic space travel and defensive capabilities." Frank looked at the images. Some were real but taken out of context. Others appeared to be faked or misinterpreted. Before he could respond, Zegex Vini raised all 4 of his arms. "The Council has already voted, Ambassador. Earth represents a dangerous, deceptive species that cannot be trusted. For the safety of all peaceful civilizations, we must take decisive action. For the first time, Frank felt real fear grip him. He glanced at Natalie, whose face had gone pale. "What action?" Frank asked, though he already suspected the answer. "Ambassador Frank Dawson of Earth, you have been found guilty of espionage against the Galactic Council and conspiracy to disrupt galactic peace," Zexvini announced. "The punishment is death, effective immediately." Natalie gasped. "No, you can't do this. We demand to speak with our government. We have rights under your own charter." Frank stood tall, even as he saw guards raising weapon-like devices around the chamber. His neural transmitter was burning hot now, everything being sent back to Earth in real time. "If you do this," Frank said, his voice echoing in the sudden silence of the chamber, "you will regret it. Earth comes in peace, but we are not defenseless. Your threats mean nothing," Zexvini said. "The sentence will be carried out now." Beams of bright green energy shot from multiple points around the chamber. They passed through the force field, as if it wasn't there. Frank felt burning pain throughout his body. His last thought was of his family back on Earth, and his final hope that Director Garfield was watching this transmission. As Frank's body crumpled to the floor, Natalie screamed and tried to catch him. Guards rushed onto the platform and grabbed her arms. "Take the other human to a holding cell," Zexvini ordered. "We will decide her fate after we deal with Earth's response." Natalie fought against the guards, tears streaming down her face. "You've made a terrible mistake. You don't know what you've done." As she was dragged away, the council chamber filled with the satisfied murmurs of aliens who believed they had just eliminated a threat. None of them noticed the small light behind Frank's ear, still transmitting to Earth. At Earth Defense Command, Director Patricia Garfield stared in horror at the screen showing Frank's final moments. Her hands shook as she picked up a secure phone. "Get me the president," she said, her voice ice cold. "Now. Tell him it's protocol annihilation." In the White House Situation Room, President Alan Monroe watched the transmission with his military advisors. His face showed no emotion, but his eyes burned with cold fury. "They've executed our ambassador without trial, based on false accusations and manufactured evidence," he said. The room was silent as he stood and walked to a special console in the corner. He placed his hand on a scanner, then spoke clearly. "Authorization, Monroe, Alan J. Presidential Code, Omega 7 Delta 3. Initiate protocol annihilation." Across Earth and throughout the solar system, hidden military installations began to power up. Weapons that no alien had ever seen were prepared for use. Ships that did not officially exist moved into launch positions. Humanity had hoped for peace. They had prepared for war, and now war was coming. The alert sirens at Lunar Base Alpha began to wail. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Commander Elijah Carpenter jumped up from his desk and rushed to the command center. Officers were already at their stations, faces tense. "Report," Elijah ordered as he took his position at the central command console. Lieutenant Kelly Morris looked up from her screen. "Sir, we've received a priority alpha message from Earth. Protocol annihilation has been activated." A heavy silence fell over the room. Everyone knew what that meant. For years they had trained for this possibility, but no one truly believed it would happen. "Show me," Elijah said. The main screen lit up with the recording from Ambassador Dawson's neural transmitter. The command staff watched in stunned silence as their diplomat was executed without trial. When the recording ended, Elijah's hands gripped the edge of his console until his knuckles turned white. "Frank was my friend," he said quietly. Then his expression hardened. "Begin full activation sequence. I want all hidden vessels powered up and ready for deployment in 30 minutes. Kelly nodded and began sending orders. Across the dark side of the moon, massive hangar doors slid open, revealing row after row of sleek warships. These ships had been built in secret over decades. Even most of Earth's population didn't know they existed. Elijah opened a secure channel to all military installations in the solar system. "All stations, this is Commander Carpenter. Protocol annihilation is now active. I repeat, protocol annihilation is active. This is not a drill. On Mars, Lieutenant Samantha Cruz stood in the control room of the underground shipyard. She had just watched the same transmission from Centauri Prime. Reynolds, get the Vengeance ready for immediate launch, she ordered her second-in-command. Parker, prep all weapon systems. Yes, ma'am, they replied in unison. Samantha walked to the observation window. Below, in an enormous underground chamber, the EDF Vengeance waited. The ship was nearly a kilometer long, its black hull designed to absorb sensor scans. It was the pride of Earth's secret fleet. They thought we were helpless, she said to herself. They're about to learn how wrong they were. In the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Colonel Gregory Hayes received the Annihilation orders. His base was disguised as a mining operation, but its true purpose was much more deadly. Activate all weapons platforms, he told his crew. Load the quantum torpedoes and prepare for deep space deployment. All around him, hidden missile launchers emerged from what appeared to be ordinary asteroids. Earth had been building its defenses. Since the first alien signals were detected 50 years ago. Meanwhile, on Centauri Prime, Natalie Wright sat alone in a small cell. The room had only a hard bench and a force field doorway. She had stopped crying, but her mind kept replaying Frank's death. Her hands shook with anger and grief. The guards didn't bother restraining her. What could one human do against the might of a galactic civilization? What they didn't know was that Natalie wasn't just a diplomatic assistant. She was also a trained operative with military implants. She felt the small device at the base of her skull activate. Unlike Frank's neural transmitter, which only sent data, hers was a two-way communication system. Operative Wright, she subvocalized, knowing the implant would pick up the tiny muscle movements in her throat. Ambassador Dawson is dead. I am being held in what appears to be a detention center. Seconds passed before she received a response. Director Garfield's voice seemed to speak directly into her mind. We saw everything, Natalie. Extraction team is already on the way. Protocol Annihilation has been activated. Natalie kept her face neutral even as her heart raced. Protocol Annihilation was the most extreme response Earth had planned. It meant full-scale military action against the Galactic Council. How soon? She subvocalized. 12 hours until the first strike team arrives, came the reply. Stay alive. When you see the signal, be ready to move. Understood, Natalie confirmed. Then she lay down on the bench and closed her eyes, pretending to sleep while planning her escape. Back on Earth, in the White House Situation Room, President Alan Monroe met with his crisis team. The room was filled with military officers and government officials. On large screens around the walls, they could see the military preparations happening across the solar system. What's our status? The president asked. Defense Secretary William Grant stood up. The lunar fleet will be ready for jump in 20 minutes. Mars Division reports the Vengeance and 5 support vessels are launching now. Asteroid belt weapons are online and targeting Centauri Prime's defense network. And our operative? President Monroe asked. Director Patricia Garfield nodded. Operative Wright is alive and in contact. SEAL Team 9 is prepping for insertion. They'll extract her during our first strike. The president walked to the window and looked out at the Washington Monument in the distance. Citizens were going about their normal lives, unaware that humanity was about to reveal its true strength to the galaxy. They executed our ambassador, based on false charges, he said. They thought we were primitive, that we would be shocked and frightened by their show of power. He turned back to face the room. Instead, we will show them what happens when you threaten Earth. Admiral Peter Hawkins, head of the Space Force, stepped forward with a tablet. Mr. President, these are the final attack plans for your approval. Phase 1 will target their military installations only, no civilian targets. President Monroe studied the plans and nodded. We're not barbarians. We won't target innocent lives, but their military capabilities must be neutralized completely. He pressed his thumb to the screen, authorizing the attack. Begin the operation. In orbit around Jupiter's moon Europa, a massive ship emerged from its hidden dock. The EDF Retribution was the flagship of Earth's fleet, commanded by Admiral Jason Powell. On its bridge, officers worked at their stations, preparing for humanity's first interstellar war. All systems are green, Admiral, reported Lieutenant Olivia Ramirez, his tactical officer. Jump drives are charged and ready. Admiral Powell nodded. Ladies and gentlemen, today we make history. The Galactic Council believed we were a weak, primitive species that could be bullied and intimidated. Today they learn the truth. He took his command seat. Set coordinates for Centauri Prime. Prepare for jump. The enormous ship's engines glowed blue, then shifted to a deep purple as the experimental jump drive activated. Space itself seemed to fold around the vessel. In an instant, the retribution vanished from the solar system. Across Earth, people went about their daily lives, unaware that their planet had just launched its first act of interstellar war. In schools, teachers taught classes. In cities, workers filled office buildings. In farms, crops were tended. None of them knew that humanity's secret fleet was about to reveal itself to a galaxy that had gravely underestimated them. On Centauri Prime, the Galactic Council continued its regular session, congratulating themselves on eliminating the human threat before it could spread. They had no idea what was coming. High Counselor ZX Vini sat at the head of the emergency meeting. His forearms moved in patterns that showed great satisfaction. Other council members nodded in agreement as he spoke. The human threat has been contained, he said. Their ambassadors, execution will send a clear message to Earth. They must accept their place as a minor species or face extinction. An Arcturian diplomat raised a slender blue hand. What if they retaliate? Our intelligence suggested they might have hidden military capabilities. Zax Vini's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his kind. With what? Their primitive ships would take years to reach Centauri Prime. By then, our fleets would have reduced their planet to ash. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the council chamber. Red lights flashed on control panels. A Rigelian security officer rushed in, his scaled skin pale with fear. High Counselor, our deep space sensors have detected multiple spatial anomalies forming near the outer defense perimeter. Impossible, Zex Vini said. No species has jump technology except those approved by the Council. The main view screen activated, showing the space around Centauri Prime. Small tears in the fabric of space appeared, glowing with blue-white energy. Then, one by one, ships emerged. Not just any ships. Massive warships with sleek, dark hulls that absorbed light. By the ancient ones, whispered a council member. The humans have jump capability. On the bridge of the EDF Retribution, Admiral Jason Powell watched as his fleet emerged from jump space. 12 heavy destroyers, 30 cruisers, and the flagship itself now surrounded Centauri Prime. Their sudden appearance had caught the alien defense grid completely off guard. All ships report successful transition, Admiral, Lieutenant Olivia Ramirez said. No detection of our approach. We have complete tactical surprise. Admiral Powell nodded. Begin Phase 1. Target their defense platforms and communication arrays only. No civilian targets, and prepare my channel to address the Council. Across the fleet, weapon systems came online. The ships carried weapons no alien race had ever seen. Quantum torpedoes that could phase through traditional shields, gravity, lances that could tear apart capital ships, and precision beam weapons that could hit targets without collateral damage. Weapons locked on military targets only, sir, Olivia confirmed. Fire, Admiral Powell ordered, from the human ships. Beams of blue energy and glowing projectiles launched toward Centauri Prime's orbital defenses. The alien shields designed to stop conventional weapons failed completely against Earth's advanced technology. Defense platforms exploded in silent bursts of light and debris. Inside her cell on Centauri Prime, Natalie felt the building shake. Emergency lights activated, and she heard guards shouting in panic. Her neural implant activated again. Operative Wright, this is Earth Command. Extraction team is 15 minutes from your position. First strike has begun. Prepare for evacuation. Natalie moved to the force field doorway of her cell and watched as guards ran past, no longer paying attention to their human prisoner. She smiled slightly. Ready and waiting, she subvocalized. In another part of the detention center, a small ship silently landed on a maintenance dock. 6 figures in black combat armor emerged, their suits making them nearly invisible to sensors. Captain Ryan Foster checked his tactical display. Team, our objective is in cell block D7. Move fast, stay quiet, and watch for civilians. Non-lethal force only unless necessary. His team acknowledged and moved out, using advanced stealth technology to avoid detection. As they made their way through the facility, they stunned guards with neural disruptors rather than killing them. Back in the council chamber, chaos reigned. Reports of destroyed defense platforms and disabled communication systems came in from all sectors. The view screen showed Earth's warships methodically taking out military targets while leaving civilian infrastructure untouched. "How is this possible?" HFY shouted. "Their technology was supposed to be centuries behind ours." The main screen changed suddenly, showing Admiral Powell on the bridge of the Retribution. His face was calm but stern. "Attention, Galactic Council. I am Admiral Jason Powell of the Earth Defense Force. You have executed our ambassador without trial based on false accusations. This act of aggression against Earth will not stand." HFY stared at the human admiral in shock. "You dare to attack the heart of the Galactic Council? Your planet will be destroyed for this." Admiral Powell's expression didn't change. "You misunderstand the situation, Counselor. We are not here to start a war. We are here to end one, the one you started when you murdered our diplomat. Earth has maintained the appearance of a less advanced civilization because we observed how the Council treats emerging species. Your reaction to our ambassador proved our caution was justified." On the Council floor, representatives from various species looked at each other in confusion and fear. Many had voted for the humans' execution simply because the dominant Council species had pushed for it. Now they wondered if they had made a terrible mistake. "The ships you see represent only a fraction of Earth's military capacity," Admiral Powell continued. "We have targeted only military installations. No civilian has been harmed. This demonstrates both our capabilities and our restraint." In the detention center, Captain Foster's team reached cell block D7. They quickly neutralized the remaining guards and found Natalie's cell. "Captain Ryan Foster, Earth Special Forces," he said, deactivating the force field. "Time to go home, ma'am." Natalie stepped out of the cell. "About time. I was getting bored in there." Captain Foster handed her a compact pulse pistol and a combat suit. "Suit up quickly. We have an extraction vehicle waiting, but security forces are mobilizing throughout the city." As they made their way back through the facility, they encountered groups of panicked aliens. Some were Council security forces trying to organize a defense, others were civilians seeking shelter. The Earth team avoided conflict when possible, using stunning weapons when it wasn't. "Earth Command reports the space battle is going well," Captain Foster told Natalie as they moved. "Our ships have disabled their entire defense grid with minimal casualties." Natalie nodded as she checked her weapon. The Council never expected this level of response. They thought we were primitive, easy to intimidate. From orbit, Admiral Powell watched as his fleet completed their objectives. Centauri Prime's military capabilities had been systematically neutralized. Communication. With the extraction team confirmed, they had recovered operative right and were returning to orbit. "Send the second message to the Council," he ordered. On Centauri Prime, the Council received Admiral Powell's new transmission. "We have achieved our primary objectives," the Admiral stated. "Your military capabilities have been neutralized. Our personnel have been recovered. Now we will discuss terms." High Counselor HFY's mandibles clicked in anger. "You cannot dictate terms to the Council. We have ruled the galaxy for 50,000 years. "Perhaps that rule has come to an end," Admiral Powell replied calmly. "President Monroe will address the full Council in 1 hour. I suggest you prepare yourselves for a new reality." As the transmission ended, representatives from 17 species that had long been oppressed by the Council looked at each other. For centuries they had been kept technologically dependent, forced to follow Council rules. Now they saw an opportunity in the humans' unexpected show of force. A Proximian delegate stood up. "Perhaps it is time to hear what the humans have to say," she suggested, her voice carrying through the stunned silence of the chamber. For the first time in thousands of years, the Galactic Council faced a power they could not simply intimidate or destroy. And for many species in the galaxy, A new hope began to emerge. Natalie Wright stood on the bridge of the EDF Retribution beside Admiral Powell. She had changed from her prison clothes into a fresh uniform. Through the main viewport, she could see the planet Centauri Prime, with Earth ships positioned strategically around it. "I still can't believe how fast you responded," she said. The Council thought it would take years for Earth to mount any kind of response. Admiral Powell nodded. "That was the plan all along. Let them think we were less advanced than we are. It gave us time to prepare." "And Frank?" Natalie asked quietly. "Was his death part of the plan too?" "No," Admiral Powell said firmly. "Ambassador Dawson knew the risks, but we never expected the Council to execute him without trial. His death was not part of any plan." A communications officer interrupted them. "Admiral, we have a secure channel from Earth. President Monroe is ready to address the Council." "Put him through to the Council chamber," Admiral Powell ordered, "and make sure we have a feed here as well." On the main screen they could see the Council chamber. Many of the representatives looked frightened. Others seemed angry. High Counselor ZX Vini sat rigid in his seat, his forearms tightly folded. "President?" Alan Monroe appeared on the screen, sitting behind his desk in the Oval Office. His expression was serious but calm. "Members of the Galactic Council. I am President Alan Monroe of Earth. 24 hours ago, you executed our ambassador without trial, based on false accusations. This was your first mistake. Your second was believing we showed you all our capabilities during first contact." On Earth, Advanced Defense Secretary Veronica Mitchell stood in an underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. Around her, giant screens showed the positions of Earth's military assets throughout the solar system and beyond. She had just finished briefing the United Nations Security Council on what was happening. For decades, humanity has been preparing for this day, she explained to the world leaders. "When we discovered an alien scout ship that crashed in the Arctic in 2082, we kept it secret. The technology we recovered accelerated our development beyond what anyone could have imagined." She displayed images of the reverse-engineered alien technology that had led to Earth's quantum jump drives, advanced weapons, and shield systems. Nations that appeared to be rivals on the world stage were actually working together in secret, she continued. "The appearance of division was a cover to hide our united efforts from alien observation." Back on the Retribution, Natalie watched as President Monroe continued addressing the Council. "Earth did not seek this conflict," the President said. "We came to you in peace, seeking cooperation. Instead, you responded with violence and threats. Now you have seen only a fraction of Earth's true military power. The question is, what happens next?" In the Council chamber, representatives began to talk among themselves. A tall, elegant alien with silver skin stood up. She was from the Proximian Collective, a species that had long been treated as second-class members of the Council. "Earth's representative makes a valid point," she said. "For too long, the Council has ruled through intimidation. Perhaps it is time for change." High Counselor ZX Vini's mandibles clicked in anger. "Silence. This is rebellion. The human ships will be destroyed when our main fleet arrives." The Proximian representative turned to face him. "Your main fleet that relies on the jump gate network? The same network that the humans have now proven is unnecessary for faster-than-light travel? Your technological advantage is gone, Counselor." The Retribution, Captain Ryan Foster entered the bridge. His extraction team had safely returned after rescuing Natalie. "Admiral, we've detected ships powering up in the outer system," he reported. "It appears to be the Council's home fleet returning from the Rigelian border." Admiral Powell nodded. "Right on schedule. Lieutenant Ramirez, signal Earth Command. Initiate Phase 2. Across the solar system, more Earth ships prepared to jump. From Mars, the EDF Vengeance led a battle group of 5 heavy destroyers. From the asteroid belt, Colonel Hayes's weapons platforms folded into jump space. From Jupiter's moons, 3 carrier ships with fighter squadrons activated their drives. Within minutes, the space around Centauri Prime was filled with even more Earth vessels. The approaching Council fleet found themselves suddenly surrounded by ships that had appeared out of nowhere. In the Council chamber, a communications officer rushed in. "High Counselor, Our main fleet reports they are surrounded by human vessels. The humans outnumber our ships 3 to 1. For the first time, fear showed in ZX Vini's compound eyes. The council representatives watched in stunned silence as tactical displays showed the hopeless position of their fleet. President Monroe continued his address. As you can see, we could destroy your military capabilities completely if we chose to. But Earth does not seek destruction. We seek a new relationship. One, based on mutual respect, not intimidation. In an office deep beneath the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., Director Patricia Garfield met with a strange figure. Known only as the Exile, this alien had secretly lived on Earth for 2 centuries. Its luminescent eyes blinked slowly as it watched the transmission from Centauri Prime. They will not surrender easily, the Exile said, its voice like whispered music. The Council has ruled for too long. Their pride will not allow them to accept defeat. Then perhaps it's time for new leadership in the galaxy, Director Garfield replied. You warned us about the Council's true nature decades ago. Without your help, we would have been unprepared for this day. The Exile's skin shifted colors, showing a pattern that indicated agreement. Humanity has proven worthy of the trust I placed in you. Now we must see if other species are ready for freedom as well. Back on the Retribution, Natalie noticed something interesting happening in the council chamber. Representatives from several species were gathering together, talking urgently. The Proximian delegate seemed to be leading them. Admiral, she said, I think we're seeing the beginning of a rebellion within the council itself. Admiral Powell watched with interest. This was always a possibility. Many species resent the control of the dominant council races. President Monroe seemed to notice this too. He paused in his address, allowing the representatives time to confer. Finally, the Proximian delegate stepped forward again. President Monroe of Earth, I am Ambassador Lyra of the Proximian Collective. I speak now for 17 species who have long suffered under council rule. We request a separate communication with your government to discuss our mutual interests. High Counselor Zex Vini rose from his seat in fury. This is treason. Guards, arrest the rebels. But the council guards didn't move. Many of them belonged to the very species that were now standing with Ambassador Lyra. President Monroe nodded solemnly. Ambassador Lyra, we would welcome such discussions. Admiral Powell will arrange a secure channel for our talks. Across the galaxy, news of the confrontation at Centauri Prime began to spread. Species that had been dominated by the Council for centuries watched with hope as humans demonstrated that the Council was not invincible after all. On Earth, citizens gathered around screens in homes, schools, and public places, learning for the first time about their planet's secret preparations and true technological advancement. Many were shocked, but most felt pride that humanity had responded to aggression with measured force rather than wanton destruction. The galactic order that had stood for 50,000 years was beginning to crumble. And Earth, a planet the SAP Council had dismissed as primitive and unimportant, had become the catalyst for change. 3 days after Earth's fleet appeared at Centauri Prime, representatives from 17 alien species gathered on the EDF Retribution. Admiral Powell had converted the ship's main conference room into a meeting space. Earth's flag stood on one side of the room while the various flags of the rebel species lined the other walls. Natalie Wright sat beside the Admiral. As the only other human who had witnessed Frank Dawson's execution, she had become an important diplomatic figure. Her military training, previously hidden behind her role as a diplomatic assistant, now served her well as she helped coordinate these historic talks. The representatives are ready, Admiral, she said. President Monroe is standing by to join via secure link. Admiral Powell nodded and stood up. Then let's begin. The door opened and Ambassador Lyra of the Proximian Collective led the other delegates into the room. Her silver skin reflected the light, and her large eyes took in every detail of the human ship. Welcome aboard the Retribution, Admiral Powell said. I appreciate your willingness to meet here. Ambassador Lyra bowed slightly. Your ship is the only truly neutral ground available, Admiral. The Council monitors all other facilities on Centauri Prime. As the delegates took their seats, a large screen activated. showing President Monroe in the White House Situation Room. Earth's military leaders and diplomatic corps surrounded him. "Greetings to all representatives," the president said. "This is a historic moment. The first true diplomatic exchange between Earth and independent galactic species." Ambassador Lyra spoke first. "President Monroe, for centuries the Council has maintained control by keeping emerging species technologically dependent. They allow us only enough advancement to be useful, never enough to challenge their power." A reptilian delegate named Krex added, "When they detected your world 50 years ago, they sent observers disguised as a crashed ship. It was a test, one they have used on many worlds. Most species reverse engineer what they can and reveal their discoveries proudly." "But you did not," said another delegate, a gaseous being contained in a transparent suit. "You kept your discoveries secret. You maintained the appearance of division and limited technology. The Council never suspected you had advanced so far." Admiral Powell exchanged glances with Natalie. Earth's secret was out. The crashed alien ship had been a test, not an accident. But humanity had passed the test in a way no other species had. President Monroe nodded solemnly. "When we discovered the vessel wasn't truly damaged, we suspected it might be a test. Our nations appeared divided, but we united in secret to prepare for possible threats." On a screen in the conference room, they could see live footage from Centauri Prime. The council chamber was in chaos. High Counselor ZX and his loyalists were arguing loudly with representatives of other species. The unity of the council was breaking apart. "The old order is dying," Ambassador Lyra said. "But what will replace it? That is why we are here." For the next several hours, the human representatives and the rebel delegates discussed possibilities. Gradually, a plan began to take shape. A new alliance of worlds based on cooperation rather than control. Meanwhile, in orbit around Centauri Prime, more council ships arrived from distant systems. But they did not attack. Instead, many declared their support for the rebel species. Crews mutinied against officers loyal to the old council. The balance of power was shifting rapidly. "We propose a galactic confederation," President Monroe said, outlining Earth's vision. "Equal representation for all spacefaring species, technology sharing with appropriate safeguards, mutual defense against any true threats to galactic peace." Ambassador Lyra and the other delegates discussed the proposal among themselves. Finally, Lyra turned back to the screen. "Your proposal has merit, President Monroe, but how can we trust that Earth won't simply replace the Council as the new dominant power? Your military capabilities clearly exceed those of any other single species." It was a fair question. Earth had revealed overwhelming force, enough to destroy the Council completely. If they had wanted to, Natalie spoke up. "Ambassador Dawson died because the Council feared what they didn't understand. They chose aggression instead of dialogue. Earth could respond with total war, but we chose limited force and now offer partnership. Isn't that proof of our intentions?" Delegates murmured among themselves. Ambassador Lyra's silver skin rippled in what appeared to be agreement. "A fair point, Operative Wright," she said. "Very well. We accept Earth's proposal in principle. Let us begin drafting the charter for this new galactic confederation." 2 weeks later, High Counselor ZX and the remaining Council loyalists were brought aboard the Retribution under heavy guard. They found themselves no longer dictating terms but facing a new galactic reality. "This is outrageous," ZX protested, his mandibles clicking rapidly. "The Council has ruled for 50,000 years. You cannot simply replace us. Your rule was based on keeping other species ignorant and divided," Natalie replied, now serving as Earth's chief diplomat after her battlefield promotion. "That time is over." The final agreement, signed by representatives of Earth and 32 alien species, officially dissolved the old Galactic Council. In its place, the new Galactic Confederation would be established, with headquarters on a neutral world rather than Centauri Prime. As a show of good faith, Earth released some of its technological advancements to its new allies. But not all. Humanity had learned the value of caution. Back in the Oval Office, President Monroe looked out at the Washington Monument as Director Garfield delivered her final report on the crisis. Ambassador Dawson's sacrifice revealed their true intentions, she said quietly. And our response has changed the galaxy forever. The president nodded solemnly. Ensure his family receives the Presidential Medal of Honor. He died thinking he had failed, but his death opened the door to a new era for humanity. And the Annihilation Protocol, sir? Director Garfield asked. Do we stand down our hidden fleets? President Monroe turned from the window, his expression serious. No. Keep our forces at ready status. Maintain the hidden shipyards and weapons platforms. The Confederation is a new beginning, but trust must be earned over time. Across the stars, Earth ships began to return home, but not all of them. Some remained in key positions, watching and waiting. Humanity had revealed only a fraction of its true military power, enough to ensure their voice would be heard, but not enough to show all their cards. In her new office at the temporary Confederation headquarters on Centauri Prime, Natalie Wright looked at a hologram of Frank Dawson. His smile, frozen in time, reminded her of all they had lost and gained. We did it, Frank, she said softly. The galaxy will never be the same. Outside her window, ships from dozens of worlds moved through, spaced together, no longer separated by the Council's artificial restrictions. A new age had begun, sparked by one act of aggression against humanity and shaped by Earth's measured response. The Annihilation Protocol remained active, coded into Earth's deepest military systems, a final safeguard for a species that had learned the hard way to hope for friendship while preparing for betrayal. But for now at least, peace prevailed among the stars.